remembering these nuclear weapons are out there. They are a risk. They are a global catastrophic risk. And depending on who you talk to, it is an existential risk. Because they are truly the most devastating instruments of mass murder and environmental destruction that have ever been created. And honestly, humanity might not survive if a nuclear war were to take place that used even a fraction of the arsenals in existence today. But what do these bombs do? Most people don't really think about it or know. This guy looks like he's, got that nice sunburn on the back action going. I picked this image because it sort of reflects some of the trends I've seen around nuclear weapons that people don't know about the heat. When one of the survivors from the Hiroshima bombing described it as feeling the heat of 1,000 suns. And it's a huge explosion. It's extremely hot. A nuclear explosion also releases an electromagnetic pulse. And when we deal with a lot of catastrophes today, we deal with extreme weather events, we deal with fire. We don't have this compound problem of our electronics, our devices no longer functioning. So all of the communication systems that we rely on in our day-to-day would not work because of the electromagnetic pulse. And of course, depending on where the weapon is detonated, if it hits the ground or if it's detonated above ground, which is usually the tactic, that's the plan, then it has a very wide impact area. A nuclear weapon also has a blast wave, like it's an explosion. It's a massive freaking explosion, right? This is something that picks up cars and flies them through the air in the blink of an eye. And that explosion is something that adds the compound effect. So the explosion is something that triggers additional fires. It triggers buildings to collapse. You have to be, depending on how close you are to an epicenter of a nuclear explosion, you can be behind 4-foot concrete or 1.5 meters concrete, and it doesn't matter. Or it does. And it depends on a lot of, like I said, it's a lot of varying factors. A nuclear weapon is given almost mythical and magical properties in public consciousness because of the ionizing radiation, because that's what makes it different from other types of bombs, right? So it releases this ionizing radiation. I'll talk a second about what that does in just a minute. And that adds to the impact, because look, we all know a bomb can go off and not everybody might die on the bomb effect or the massive fireballs. People do survive. It's amazing. People survive. Like that's something that happens, but then they might get sick. And that's one of the things we've learned from previous nuclear detonations, whether they were the use of the weapons in war when the United States decided to drop bombs on Japan, or the testing of nuclear weapons. Over 2,000 tests which have taken place in the world. These were often smaller yield tests and conducted in more remote areas. It's not like nobody was there. I mean, people live in Algeria, people live in Australia, people live in China. People live in Russia, people live in the United States. They used to blow up bombs an hour outside of Las Vegas, right? It's not that people weren't there, it's just that the people who were there were extremely disenfranchised and had very little political power. And that's a problem. So nuclear weapons are unique because of this ionizing radiation, and that contributes to fallout. So the bomb goes off, it leaves us, it's super hot. There's an EMP, all the electronics are fried, and then there's this blast wave, and that blast wave kicks up. That's what kicks up the dirt. That's what kicks up the mushroom cloud that we're so familiar with, that iconic mushroom cloud. And that mushroom cloud then is those particles, those dust particles are irradiated and create fallout. And what we have learned from the decades of nuclear testing, both above and below ground, is that fallout has impacted everybody on this planet. So the 9 countries who have nuclear weapons, the 9 countries, 8, one of them never tested officially. The 8 countries who have tested nuclear weapons have contributed already to a cancer epidemic on our planet. So we should hold them accountable to that.